Okay, right now I'm going to talk about dark consciousness, shadow consciousness. What is shadow and dark consciousness? It is the ability to embrace the darkness and not be afraid, while illuminating it with your own inner light, your own witness, your own witness ability to witness the unconscious and the conscious, but to beyond neither conscious or unconscious, but to embrace everything that comes with an open mind and a channel from the divine. So, like, for example, like Juice World in a lot of his music would like make reference to a lot of stuff like drugs and violence and heartbreak and sadness and such. But so many people are filled with so much love and healing through hearing those words because he's bringing awareness. When you bring awareness and you become aware of the darkness itself sort of destroys itself because you bring a light to the darkness. If everyone is light, we're all just specks of light, of energy, of God, Krishna, and Jesus within all of us, that spark of enlightenment, that illumination of the Holy Spirit. And that is what we manifest as we are able to see each other's bodies, but we're beyond the bodies. So when someone brings light, someone is the light, and they embrace the darkness of stuff we'd consider darkness, like stuff of violence, heartbreak, drugs, like stuff which some people would say is evil, but it's beyond good and evil. You know, I'm not really a fan of Friedrich Nietzsche, but one thing he talks about, which was good, was the ability to go beyond good and evil, which is truly a holy teaching because it really means like eating from the tree of life, because life is the encompassment of all things dark and light, and life is inherently beyond good and evil. It's only from eating the tree of opinions and judgment and the knowledge of good and evil, which Adam and Eve fell into sin. But it says somewhere in the Bible like they could have eaten from the tree of life and been forgiven like been blessed instantly and raised back into heaven or whatever, like being in their awareness rather than the self judgment. So when you're experiencing darkness, like literally in a room like this right now, like you think like, oh, it's dark, that's where demons hide and stuff like that, but they're not existent in that way. Like, regardless if there's angels, demons, or whatever, you are that presence of that light, that God consciousness beyond all of it because it's all illusionary and all just an appearance. And you can experience your witness and your observation of your awareness and the consciousness of all whilst in that and embracing it entirely. So when you experience like people who are goths and emos and stuff like that, it's actually a cool way of living because it's sort of saying like we're embracing that darkness, like we're aware that there's darkness and we are the problem, the world is the problem, sort of thing. And it's true. Every problem stems from your own idea that something is right or wrong because you're deeming it as evil, but or deeming it as good. The only thing that is good is God, and if God is all, then all is good. There's no evil. So the suffering in the world can be changed just by a wise man having a thought and an inspiration to go and help and save the people that are suffering. Because it's only through like karma and karma and dark happenings in like whatever lifetime that people suffer because it's the action and consequence. So it's like I'm not saying it's right and wrong for anyone to go through that, but I'm saying that you got to go beyond the sense of like this is just a world where like good and evil happens. where there's duality. What we're talking about is, in a sense, non-duality, which is in a sense, of perspective of seeing the dark and being the light in the dark and helping those that are suffering. Like I said before, people are working all around the world at all times to make sure that, you know, the wars get stopped, that children get saved from captivity. It's really a tricky subject to embrace, like the fact that this stuff exists, but if you yourself have helped anyone in your life, then you have the ability to help everyone. It's only when you go beyond the desires and the fear that you can really be able to help, because if you have the desire just to help to become famous or to have money from it, then the problem will persist because it's being created more and more from a sense of ego or whatever. But if you're beyond the intentions, the fear and the desire, then you will really be overcoming the world. And when you overcome the world, you can help others overcome the world. Their own imprisonment of either their mind, their body, or their soul. The spirit is always in heaven, remember, like, no matter if you're in the darkest cave of all time, there's no light at all, complete silence. You can have the urge to fear because the body will have thoughts of, like, there could be something here, like what's lurking here, but the spirit illuminates with a light, and that presence is God, which makes you fearless, which will make you have a solution. So when you embrace the dark consciousness, like some people like rap about like murdering and, you know, like doing bad stuff, but people are like, yeah, this is fire. Like there's the talent in that, there's the skill in that, there's the intellectually violent, there's the physically violent, there's the spiritually violent, or psychological or emotional. There's a lot of ways of being violent, but when you're aware that that's a possibility, when there's the greatest possibility to do the greatest evil, then you can do the greatest good. Because you realise, like, why do evil if evil doesn't exist? And like, cannot have an effect because God is the only thing that exists, essentially. So when people like learn about like dictators and people that have killed millions of people and stuff like that, there's still people that find love in that, that can still find relationships based on their admiration of that. So of those people, like of their beliefs or their ideas, or, you know, it's kind of crazy, really. Like being in the dark consciousness, embracing the shadow in that, is really just embracing crazy wisdom, because with like the speeches that people can give, even if they're considered one of the worst people of all time, there can still be found a lot of intelligence, and then found like a brick of intelligence within that, and then that brick can get taken away from that intelligence and then build a whole temple of spiritual peace and enlightenment based off that. So within the darkness, you know, even like chickens like could live in a cave and lay eggs, and then when the light comes, someone can come and get the egg and then have food and find life from the darkness. It's darkness in your mother's womb for 9 months before you become conceived. You don't see any light, any fear, but you're not fearing it at all. It's only because we've been learned to fear the darkness and keep the light on at night, so, you know, monsters don't get us or whatever. A true master is someone who's not afraid of their own darkness or afraid of the world's darkness, because they're beyond it entirely. It started to rain, so I sort of see that as symbolism of blessings pouring from heaven, because rain and water and the weather can cause a lot of destruction. Everything, as Buddha says in this first episode, remember, where Buddha talks about all is illusion and all is life is suffering, all is illusion. So when you see from a perspective that even the dark is illusion, even the light is an illusion, then what remains? And what remains is Parabrahman, God, Krishna, Jesus, enlightenment. And then you can really help, but you have to destroy and become aware of the things that are fundamentally, what fundamentally bad or good or whatever. So it sounds contradictory, but be aware that you are that light. Jesus says you are the light of the world. People don't put out a candle just to put it under a bed to keep it in darkness. They bring out the candle to illuminate the whole light in the room. So don't give up. Even depression and suffering, as Sage Nisargadatta talks about, pleasure will just cause pain later, and suffering will just cause peace later. So whatever you're doing in the light is going to go into the dark eventually, and you're going to consider it differently. And whatever happens in the dark comes out in the light, and you're going to consider it differently then too. So just embrace the darkness and don't be afraid. People love horror movies and learning about people. I find Christianity very dark, to be honest. When it's all about a man getting tortured for the fact that we're sinners and have made loads of mistakes, so he had to die in such a brutal way, to then be raised from the dead and go to heaven. Jesus was completely in the dark and then awoken to life and then ascended. So it's just a metaphor for ourselves. So, and when they talk about the devil and that, people are so interested in the devil, watching hour-long videos and reading whole books and all this stuff about the devil, because they're embracing the darkness. They want to experience that darkness so they can become aware to illuminate. I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I personally don't do it, but remember, what seems light can also be very dark, and what seems dark can also be very light. A lot of people misjudge me and hate me and think I'm a dark person or whatever, but actually only I know that, I'm beyond the light and the dark. Some people see me as a hero, some people see me as a villain, some people make up stuff, some people tell the truth. It's the same for everyone, so what you can do is just embrace every aspect of that. And I make rap music and I'm not always speaking in the same tone of voice. I go a bit darker and embrace a more villainy tone, but the villains were the same as a hero when they were babies. It's only because of that illusion of good and evil and having the desires, anything that causes suffering is, evil, but whatever causes alleviation of that suffering is good. When you realize in the darkness you go to sleep and you heal, and your suffering alleviates as you sleep because all your toxins get released. I'm not saying that there isn't good and evil, that there isn't life and God and all that, but it's going beyond all of it and seeing the goodness overall that you are, because you're truthfully ourselves and the spark of light that is God and Krishna and Jesus and all that. That's the only thing that's really real. It's only beyond in heaven that we can experience and know the truth fully and be set free, because we're not in a body which is been conditioned and nurtured in so many ways to fear and desire. But you can experience that in this life too. You can be that heaven to others, like the gurus are, like Jesus is. The presence of God is heaven. I mean, you're beyond the human body and the mind and all that. What is left is just God consciousness, Krishna, and blessings and such. So flowers can grow in the dark caves. You can grow in the dark cave. But it's whether you want to bring that light or embrace the darkness. It doesn't really matter. So keep that in mind. Bless. It's kind of a strange video, but I thought I'd talk about it.